When we think about the future, it's easy to get overwhelmed. We tell ourselves, one day I'll start that business, one day I'll write that book, one day I'll get in shape, go back to school, chase the life I really want, but let's be honest, one day, too often becomes never, it becomes the comfortable excuse we lean on when fear creeps in. When the road looks long, when the risk feels too high, we wait, and while we wait, the clock keeps ticking. What if instead of saying one day, we say day one, what if today was the beginning, not some far off maybe? Here's the truth. Every achievement, every success story, every breakthrough, you name it, started on a day just like this. There was no magic, no perfect timing, just a decision, a commitment, a first step. You don't need to have it all figured out to get started. You just need to start. You don't need a 10-year plan to take the first step. What you need is the courage to begin. You can keep waiting. You can keep dreaming. But dreams without action are just fantasies. Or you can wake up today and declare that this right now is day one. Not next Monday, not after the new year, not when things calm down. This moment, this breath, this choice, because the difference between one day and day one is everything. So ask yourself, what are you waiting for? You decide. We often tell ourselves that we'll begin our journey one day. It's a phrase that feels safe, harmless even, something we say to buy time or avoid pressure, but beneath it, there's usually something deeper, fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough, and so we use one day as a shield. It lets us dream without the risk. It keeps us comfortable. It keeps us waiting. The problem is, one day rarely comes. Life moves quickly. Days turn into weeks, and weeks into years. The dreams we once held close begin to fade, not because they weren't worthy, not because we weren't capable, but because we kept pushing them into the future. We traded progress for the illusion of preparation, convincing ourselves that we'll act once the timing is right, once we're more confident, once everything is perfectly aligned. But the truth is, there will never be a perfect time. There will always be something standing in the way, an obstacle, a doubt, a distraction. Waiting for the stars to align only delays the inevitable. Either we act or we don't. One day becomes a habit of delay, and eventually it becomes a habit of regret. People often look back and realize that the things they wanted to do weren't impossible. They were just postponed. The longer we wait, the heavier the dream becomes, until it feels too far out of reach to even try. And that wait, that sense of missed opportunity, can stay with us for years. We have to recognize that one day thinking is a trap. It gives us permission to stand still while pretending we're just being patient. But patience without purpose, without action, is just stagnation. It's a quiet surrender dressed up as optimism. And if we're honest with ourselves, we know when we're stalling. We know when we're using one day to protect ourselves from risk. But comfort isn't growth, safety isn't progress, and delay is not preparation. One day is just a softer way of saying not today, again and again, until time runs out, shifting from one day, to day one. Is not just a change in language. It's a complete shift in mindset. It's about reclaiming control over your life and your choices. When you say day one, you're no longer putting your goals in the distant future. You're grounding them in the present. You're making the bold statement that today matters, that this moment counts, and that you're no longer willing to wait for some undefined, perfect time to begin. Choosing day one, is about embracing action over hesitation. It means you're ready to take responsibility for your future. Not in theory, not someday, but now. It's not about having all the answers. It's not about being fully prepared. It's about being willing to take that first, often imperfect, step forward. And that first step, as small as it may seem, can be the start of something powerful. Think about how many people stay stuck in place not because they lack ambition, but because they're afraid to begin. They imagine obstacles before they've even encountered them. They worry about failure before they've even tried. One day, becomes a way to postpone discomfort. But day one, accepts that discomfort is part of the journey. It says, I'm ready to start despite the unknown. I'm ready to grow through experience rather than wait for certainty. When you make that shift in your mindset, everything changes. You stop focusing on how far you have to go and start focusing on the step right in front of you. You realize that progress isn't measured by leaps. It's measured by consistency, by showing up every day with purpose. And day one is where that consistency begins. It's a choice, plain and simple. A choice to stop watching and start doing. A choice to stop dreaming and start building. Day one is your line in the sand. It's the moment you stop waiting for opportunity and begin creating it. And while the journey ahead might be long, the most important thing is that it's no longer imaginary. It's real, it's in motion, it has a starting point, and that point is today. One of the biggest myths we buy into is the idea that we need to have everything perfectly figured out before we begin, that we need the right plan, the right resources, the right timing, or the right level of confidence. But the truth is, perfection is not a prerequisite for starting. It never has been. Most people who accomplish great things begin in uncertainty, with questions still unanswered, and with doubt whispering in their ears. The difference is, they don't let that stop them. Waiting until you're ready is just another form of delay. It's rooted in the belief that if you plan enough, if you prepare enough, then maybe, just maybe, you'll avoid failure or embarrassment. But the world doesn't reward perfection. It rewards movement, progress, effort. The people who move ahead in life aren't necessarily the ones who know everything. They're the ones who are willing to learn as they go. They're willing to be uncomfortable, to make mistakes, and to keep showing up anyway. In reality, experience is the best teacher. The act of starting, of trying, of doing, it teaches you far more than sitting on the sidelines ever will. You discover your strengths, your gaps, your rhythm. You start to build confidence, not because you waited until you were fearless, but because you acted in spite of fear. It's also important to understand that perfection is often just fear in disguise. We tell ourselves we're being careful or strategic, but deep down, it's often anxiety speaking. The idea of a perfect start is a safety net we use to protect ourselves from vulnerability. But growth doesn't happen in safety. Growth happens when you step into the unknown and trust yourself to figure things out along the way. You don't need the full picture to take the first step. All you need is the willingness to begin. Start with what you have, where you are, and who you are. Clarity will come through action. Momentum builds not from waiting, but from moving, even if it's slow, even if it's messy, because starting imperfectly still beats waiting forever, every single time. Every major success story, every innovation, business, movement, or personal transformation started with one thing, a decision to begin, not a guarantee of success, not a perfect plan, just a decision. A moment when someone said, this is it, I'm doing it. That moment, that single choice to start, is where every meaningful journey begins. We often look at people who have accomplished great things and assume they must have had some special advantage. More talent, more resources, more certainty. But if you dig deeper, you'll usually find the same simple truth. They chose to begin when it was still uncomfortable, when there were doubts, when nothing was promised. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait for the fear to vanish. They made a choice to step forward, even if they didn't know what would come next. That first step may seem small, even insignificant, but it holds incredible power. It shifts the momentum, it breaks the cycle of overthinking and hesitation, it marks the transition from idea to action, from wanting to doing, and once you take that first step, something changes inside you. You realize that you can act, you can push forward even in uncertainty. That feeling builds on itself. Confidence grows from trying, not from standing still. No one builds a legacy, a career, or even a healthy habit in one leap. It all starts with a first day, a first effort, a first try. And that beginning is the seed from which everything else grows. It's what separates the dreamers from the doers, not intelligence, not background, but action. The first decision to begin, as small as it may seem, sets off a chain reaction. It opens doors you didn't see before. It brings clarity you couldn't get from just thinking. It invites opportunity. The more you move, the more paths appear, and suddenly the impossible starts to feel possible, not because the world changed, but because you did. You started. Every finish line you admire began at a starting line. Every voice that inspires you once spoke for the first time. Every journey you envy began with one step forward, taken by someone who decided that waiting was no longer an option. That's all it takes. One decision, one day, one beginning. Dreams are powerful. They give us vision, they give us hope, and they give our lives direction. But dreams on their own aren't enough. Without action, dreams remain suspended in our imagination, beautiful, inspiring, but ultimately unrealized. They become stories we tell ourselves about what asterisk could asterisk be, rather than what asterisk is. Asterisk, and over time, unfulfilled dreams can turn into sources of regret rather than motivation. We often think dreaming is the hard part, but it's not. The real challenge is doing the work to bring those dreams to life, because that work is uncomfortable, it's slow, it's filled with obstacles, missteps, and doubts. It doesn't always feel exciting. In fact, most of the time, chasing a dream feels ordinary. You're waking up early, staying up late, trying again after failing. But it's in that effort that transformation happens. Action gives shape to vision. It turns vague ideas into concrete steps. You want to write a book, you have to write the first sentence. You want to build a business, you need to make that first call, launch that first product, face that first challenge. Dreams don't move forward on inspiration alone. They move when you move. It's easy to confuse dreaming with planning and planning with progress, but none of those matter without action. You can visualize the life you want. You can journal about it, talk about it, even convince others you're serious. But if you're not taking tangible steps toward it, however small, then you're just staying in place. Dreaming is important, but it's only the beginning. It's the spark, not the flame. There's also a deeper truth here. Action builds belief. The more you act, the more you start to see that you're capable. Every step, no matter how small, reinforces the idea that your dream is not only possible, it's within reach. You begin to trust yourself, not just because you want it, but because you're proving it to yourself through action. So the real question is not whether you have a dream. Most people do. The real question is whether you're willing to back that dream with consistent effort. With late nights, with early mornings, with discipline when motivation fades, because it's in that space, the space between vision and action, that dreams are either built or broken. The power to begin has always been in your hands. That may sound simple, even obvious, but it's one of the most overlooked truths in our lives. Too often, we wait for permission. We wait for someone to tell us we're ready, for the stars to align, for some external sign that says, asterisk, now is the time, asterisk, but that sign doesn't exist, not outside of you. The only person who can decide when to begin is you, and that's both the challenge and the opportunity, because if you have the power to begin, that means you also have the power to stop waiting. The power to let go of excuses, to silence the inner critic, to push past the fear. You don't need to wait until you feel confident. Confidence comes asterisk after asterisk. You take the first step, not before. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to know how the entire journey will unfold. You just need to be willing to begin. Right here, right now, every meaningful change starts with a choice, a moment where you say, asterisk, I'm not going to delay this any longer. I'm not going to wait for everything to be ideal. Today is the day I stop dreaming and start doing. Asterisk, that moment can happen now. In fact, it already is. You have more strength than you realize, more potential than you've tapped into. But none of it comes to life until you decide to take action. Until you shift from asterisk, one day, asterisk to asterisk, day one, asterisk, and that shift, that decision, is what separates a wish from a goal and a goal from a reality. So let this be your moment, not tomorrow, not next week. Today, right now, because at the end of the day, the question is simple. Asterisk, will this be just another day you say one day? Or will this be the day you say this is day one? Asterisk, you decide.